This episode is exclusively sponsored by CanWe. Get clear on what you and your date are looking for faster. CanWe is your expert guide on your dating journey. Check out the CanWe app in Apple's App Store or on Google Play. Hi there, I'm Vincent and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing Dumper vs. Dumpee in the short term. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing Dumper vs. Dumpee in the short term. So if you are going through a breakup, then it's very natural to be wondering how your life will compare with your exes, in particular during the near future. In today's podcast, I'm going to compare 3 Dumper and Dumpee experiences after a breakup. So let's get straight into this. And number 1 is the first few days. So the first few days for a Dumpee are full of confusion, full of pain, and full of anguish as for what has happened and why. Sometimes during those first few days, a Dumpee will wake up and actually think for a second that this has never happened. They will actually believe that the breakup didn't take place and it was a nightmare. It is a huge shock, and for a lot of Dumpees, they will say that they never even saw this coming. But what about for the Dumper? How is the Dumper feeling during the first few days after the breakup? Well, most Dumpers will not want to hurt their Dumpee, so they will be feeling somewhat anguish about what they have done because they will understand that their Dumpee is going to be struggling right now. Most Dumpers do not want to hurt their Dumpee, and hence the Dumper during the first few days is very likely to be hoping and wondering that their Dumpee is okay. They will also be feeling confusion. Their life is now a bit of a blur, and the plan of action that they may have had for a while has finally been implemented. The Dumper might actually wake up sometimes and think to themselves, wow, have I actually done this? Was it the right decision? Have I made a mistake? Well, I need to push forward from now. Because although they might question things initially, ultimately during these early days, a Dumper is unlikely to feel much regret. In most instances, a Dumper will actually be feeling relief. The relief will come from the fact that a Dumper will probably have been planning this for a little while at least, and hence they are now feeling that the hardest part is over. Because a Dumper generally doesn't want to hurt their Dumpee, they often dread the breakup. It is something which can feel like they never know when is the right time to implement this action. So if and when they finally implement the breakup, when they end their relationship, this can sometimes feel like they've gotten over that hill, they've gotten over that mountain of stress and anguish and confusion, and they will now be feeling relief that they are over the hill, that they are over the toughest part of the challenge as they see it, and now they can push forward on the journey that they've set themselves. Somebody will end a relationship when they are feeling a low level of romantic emotional attraction for their partner, and that they are no longer feeling fulfilled in this relationship. They want to move forward in a different direction to try and find fulfillment, to try and find satisfaction and happiness on a life path that they are comfortable with. So when a Dumper ends a relationship, although they might be feeling for their Dumpee, they don't want to hurt them, they're worried about them somewhat, they might question briefly, have I done the right thing, haven't I done the right thing? Ultimately, generally, a Dumper will feel relief. A Dumper will be moving forward in a way where they can start to go through what I like to refer to as the single honeymoon period. Now back to the Dumpee and what they are feeling during those first few days. The anguish, the pain, the confusion, and often the disbelief about what has happened. The Dumpee might be blaming themselves, they might be blaming their Dumper, they might be blaming somebody completely out of the whole situation. because the Dumpee is desperate for answers. They're desperate for reasons, and they won't see the fact that their ex has lost romantic emotional attraction. The Dumpee will just see that something has happened out of the blue that they didn't see coming, that should never have happened, and there must be in their mind a logical explanation which doesn't involve the fact that their ex has fallen out of love with them. Most Dumpees will question the whole process of what has happened because they will believe that their ex did love them. They will believe that their ex did feel a high level of romantic emotional attraction for them, and they might use references such as, "It was only a few days ago that my ex said I was the best thing that ever happened to them," or maybe only last night they told me that they loved me. These things aren't necessarily false, but what I would say is that the Dumper would have lost enough attraction to end the relationship. So if they have said this in the recent past, this is likely either because A, they do love their former partner now in more platonic sense, or possibly they did feel that love, but they just didn't believe that the relationship could move forward due to certain circumstances. Every relationship is different, every breakup is different, and every aftermath is different. But at the end of the day, the Dumper and the Dumpee will go through these first few days after the breakup, both feeling a level of confusion, but with the Dumper now looking forward in one direction, and the Dumpee looking back in another direction. The Dumpee wants to understand what has happened, and the Dumper wants to move forward on their new path. So the confusion might be for different reasons, but everything feels new and slightly scary for both the Dumper and the Dumpee. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about Dumper versus Dumpee in the short term. And point number 2 is the first few weeks. Now, as the dust begins to settle, the Dumpee will likely feel an agonising pain of desperation to try to sort things out. Maybe at first, in the first few days, the Dumpee thought to themselves, look, I'll just let my ex go off for a few days, they'll calm down, and everything will be sorted out. But as the first few weeks tick by and the breakup is still as it was, there has not been any reconciliation, the Dumpee will start to really understand the severity of what has happened. The relationship has ended, and therefore the Dumpee will often become quite desperate, quite needy, really trying to think of any way possible to speak with their ex. They believe that if they can talk to their ex, they will be able to persuade them that they've made the wrong decision. Unfortunately for the Dumpee, because the Dumper ended the relationship due to a lack of romantic emotional attraction, no type of talking, nothing that can be said, will change their mind at this time. So the Dumper is now moving forward into the first few weeks of the single honeymoon period. They're starting to live the life that they believed they wanted to live. They're starting to live the life that they believe will make them feel more fulfilled. This is when a Dumper might start to experience new things, or things they haven't experienced in a long time. They might visit new places, they might be going out, they might go to parties, they might go to clubs, they might be mixing with different people. In essence, they are living the high life of the single life. The Dumpee, meanwhile, is worrying that the Dumper is mixing with new people, worrying that the Dumper will meet somebody new and never want to speak with them again. If only the Dumpee could understand right now that there is every possibility that in the future there is always a chance that the Dumper will want to reconcile and speak with them again. But the Dumpee right now doesn't see that. They're fearful that the Dumper will meet somebody new in these first few weeks, and then they will live happily ever after and never want to speak with the Dumpee again. They worry that the Dumper will forget all about them. And because of this, the Dumpee becomes needy, they become desperate, and they often make mistakes, which will cost them the opportunity of one day speaking with their ex again on a more level playing field. If a Dumpee behaves in a way which is very needy, very desperate, showcasing things such as jealousy, possessiveness, and other negative traits, this will actually be pushing the Dumper further away. But the Dumpee cannot be persuaded by others, by friends, by family, by people such as myself, to say, please, let sleeping dogs lie. You need to be moving forward on your own direction and not chasing your ex. You must respect the breakup. But unfortunately, Dumpees find this incredibly difficult during those first few weeks. The dumper is living this life, the dumper is living the single honeymoon period, but there is no guarantee that they will find somebody that they want to settle down with in a long-term relationship. It's so hard to find somebody you connect with on the long term, and therefore if the dumper makes any type of connection right now, it will likely be a short relationship, it will likely be a short connection, a rebound relationship. Lots of dumpers during this period don't even want to try to settle down. They want to live the single life, and this is why they move forward in their direction, but the dumpy can't understand what direction that is. The dumper is doing their own thing, but the dumpy is imagining things, hearing things off friends of friends, seeing things on social media, and it is painting a picture which is fairly inaccurate. Sometimes the dumper might be going out to the places the dumpy fears, but at the end of the day, they're coming home on their own, and they are living a life which is really focused on being single and not looking for the next love of their life. Of course, every situation is different and nothing can be guaranteed. But the first few weeks for the dumpy are often full of confusion once more, but also stresses, the desire to reach out to their ex and try to sort this out. Whereas the dumper is moving forward on their own direction, on their own path, living the life of a singleton. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about dumper versus dumpy in the short term. And number 3 is the first few months. So as the weeks turn to months and we move into the first few months after the breakup, the dumpy is feeling very similar to how they did in the first few weeks. They are not feeling like they've made much progress at all. Their friends, their family, people such as myself would likely be saying to them, look, keep moving forward, keep doing your own thing. You will start to feel better soon. You are certainly probably feeling a little bit better now than you did a few weeks ago, a few months ago, but the dumpy won't see this. The dumpy will see their agony as being continued, that nothing is changing, and just the perpetual feeling that their life will never be happy again. The dumper, on the other hand, is still living this single honeymoon period. However, they might start to have the first few flickerings that everything is not as exciting as they had imagined. All of a sudden, they start to feel a sense of, you know what, this isn't brilliant all the time. Things which were once new become old. Things which were once exciting become stale. And the dumper will be feeling that the first few months showcase a situation that they now need something new. They need to be moving forward in another direction once more, because the things they have done for weeks and a few months now are not giving them the same high, you might say, as they were once feeling. Everybody needs to be moving forward in a way where they feel fulfillment. And now after the first few months, most dumpers are starting to feel a little unfulfilled with this new lifestyle. Possibly the people they was going out with, whether these were friends or short-term relationships, maybe these people are now doing their own thing. And the dumper is starting to feel a little bit of loneliness for the first time. All of a sudden, the dumper isn't living the life that they have envisioned. So the dumpy is going through the agony, they're going through the pain, they're thinking their dumper is living their best life, when the dumper might just be starting to live a life which isn't quite as exciting and fulfilling and thrilling as they had possibly earlier after the breakup. So what does this say now about dumper versus dumpy during the first few months? Well, they're basically starting to get to a position where negativity is moving through both of their mindsets in a similar way, the similar way of unfulfillment. The dumpy is definitely feeling unfulfilled. They're feeling lonely, they're feeling sad, they're feeling desperate. They feel like their life will never be glowing with excitement again. And the dumper, who has had a brief period of time of excitement, is now starting to see that extinguish a little bit here and there. Now, maybe this won't be quite the same for every single dumper. Some dumpers will extend this single honeymoon period for many, many months. And occasionally, a dumper will meet somebody to the dumpy's fear. We have to be honest, we have to be genuine. But this is unlikely. This is only a tiny percentage of dumpers, and hence if you're a dumpy, please don't be fearful. The odds on your ex finding somebody they want to spend their life with after a few months is minimal. Now, will a dumper reach out to their dumpy during this time? Again, unfortunately, it's unlikely. We have to be honest, we have to be genuine. I see the average amount of time where a dumper reaches out to a dumpy being around the 6-month mark. Now, yes, some dumpers will reach out after days or weeks or maybe a couple of months, but some dumpers won't reach out for many, many years. And hence we see an average time frame of around 6 months where I believe most dumpers are likely to reach out to their ex. If you're a dumpee and you don't hear from your ex after 6 months, please don't be fearful. This doesn't mean you won't hear from them again, but it showcases that you must be living your life, because you can't be living a life where you are waiting for your ex, because you never know what the future holds. And there is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back. Sometimes, we do have to acknowledge that a dumper will never reach out to their dumpee again. And therefore, it's so important a dumpee lives their life. But as we end today's podcast, we look at the first few months, and we haven't yet hit that 6-month part. And hence, it's very unlikely that a dumper would have got to the stage where they have reflected to the point of where they have reached out to their ex, the dumpee. At the end of a few months, the dumpee is feeling nervous, desperate and concerned. The dumper is living that life still, but maybe not quite as fulfilling as they was at first. And that brings us the end of the short term after the breakup and the end of today's podcast. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, Vincent got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.